For the first time since the assassination of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University a couple months ago, his security chief is speaking out about the details of what happened that day and when he was killed at UVU. Brian Harpole, a former Navy SEAL who led Charlie Kirk's security detail, joined the Sean Ryan Show and recounted the frantic life or death moments after the conservative activist was fatally shot during a Turning Point USA event at Utah Valley University. Here's a portion of that interview.
And so I initially dove down on top of him and just was on him almost face to face. And then when I was doing that, I went down, I could see the wound. And so I immediately shoved my hand into the wound to stop the bleeding, just trying to find the pressure. And it was coming out still. And I'm on top of him, like close. And it was still coming out enough. And so I was like, man, this is a bad wound.
Yeah, that's bad. Eva Terry's with us on the phone. She's a Deseret News reporter who wrote about this interview, but she was also there when Charlie Kirk was shot. And did you see, Eva, thanks for joining us, by the way. Did you see anything after the shooting where the security was trying to hustle him away, or was that just too chaotic?
Yeah, so I did not see Charlie getting pulled away, but I did see it. There was a trail of blood that led to the van, and then it stopped.
Yeah. So tell us about this podcast that Brian was on yesterday.
Yeah. So Brian went on with Sean Ryan, and they just went through minute by minute and second by second what it was like. From within 5 seconds, he jumped on and was trying to stop the bleeding, and then within 15 seconds they were pulling him away to the van because they didn't know if it was still an active shooting situation. They didn't want to be on the X where he had been shot, so that was their first priority, is get him off of there. And it was so harrowing because, I mean, they get to the van and Charlie is 6'5", and so they couldn't close the doors, so it was just an insane experience, and he just went through it.
Can you tell us what their response has been since? And by the way, we haven't heard from Utah Valley University for their response, but we will be reaching out to them. What did he say? What did Brian say about maybe things that could have been done differently?
Yeah, so he shared some screenshots of texts with other security people asking to have the roof secured. And obviously, from what happened, it wasn't secure enough. And I think there will probably be a lot of back and forth. And UVU hasn't responded since the interview, but yes, that was a big allegation. And there were also just moments in the interview where they talked about, like, he dropped his phone right when he jumped onto Charlie, and so he couldn't call his kids. There were just a lot of details where things just went wrong.
Tell us about these texts, Eva. I've never heard anything about that. There was some text going on back and forth between Charlie Kirk's security and Utah Valley University saying, hey, we need to watch these rooftops?
This would have been before the
that's
event,
what I mean.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So it looks like there was a text exchange on Monday afternoon, and the event was on Wednesday. And it looks like he was talking to Chief Long, and he said that they had gotten reports from students saying there's a student roof access pretty close to where he is. Can we have more security up there? And then the Chief Long responded, I've got you covered. And he said, thank you, sir. So that was the text exchange. Yeah.
Wow.
I wanted to ask you about some of the details right after. You mentioned him dropping his phone, and I'm sure his family was worried because he didn't have his phone with him. But what happened after they were able to rush Charlie into the van? Can you just walk us through what Brian detailed about the next few minutes after that?
Yes. Yeah. So they get into the car and they just need to go. So they're going 60, 70, 80 miles an hour trying to get to Timpanogos Hospital. And so Brian is trying to plug the hole. He uses 35 feet of gauze.
Wow. And
they're driving really quickly. And so he's using both of his hands. So another security officer had his shirt Brian's shirt in both of his hands so he wouldn't fall out. So he had his butt hanging out of the car door, and they're rushing to Timpanogos Hospital. And by the time they get there, Brian just carries Charlie into the hospital, puts him on a gurney, and then takes him into a room. And then from there, he cuts his Freedom shirt off and prepares him to get a defibrillator shock. And then he's like, okay, other people are here. I'm just gonna step out. So he steps out, and he's guarding the room, and he's just covered in Charlie Kirk's blood. And this nurse came up to him, and she was like, come with me. And she said that she washed his face and his hands, and that brought him to tears during the interview.
This is maybe, I don't know, maybe it's too much detail, or maybe he didn't say, but I mean, I've seen the videos. I'm assuming that Charlie was actually dead before he got to the hospital. Did he talk about that at all?
Right. So his first concern was not to check for a pulse. It was just to close the hole if it was possible. So he doesn't know if he had a pulse throughout that whole thing, but he did say they were able to get a pulse at the hospital. But it was only 2 hours before President Trump confirmed that he was dead. And when he looked at him immediately right after the shot went off, he said that he had doll's eyes, and he knew that he himself thought that Charlie Kirk had died on impact.
As you listen to this interview, Eva, can you tell us what the sort of the overarching message of Brian Harpole was? Was it more what he had done to try to save a life, or what Utah Valley University should have done, or just the big picture of all of that?
Yeah, I think it was less about critiquing UVU and just about how harrowing the whole experience was, and that the team did the best they could, and they acted quickly. And it was just a lot of factors that came together to create something that was pretty horrible. But he seemed very genuine in his belief that they did everything they could.
Let me ask you one final question, Eva. I saw, I think as a lot of people did, just a ton of conspiracy theories after this shooting. Did he address those at all on this show yesterday?
Yeah, and there are so many conspiracy theories about this. So there was one conspiracy, and he addressed a couple, but he talked about people saying that the microphone was an explosion, or it like blew up, and that's what it was, and it was like an inside job or something like that. And he said, like, okay, if that's true, there would have been a flash of light, because combustion requires that to happen. And so, yeah, he did address some conspiracies, and yeah, he does believe that that's all that they are.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining us. We've been speaking with Eva Terry from the Deseret News, who has been writing about this and who was there when Charlie Kirk was shot. Election